Cha-ching! Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 video games that made the most money. Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking at those video games that have accumulated a truckload of cash over the years. To be clear, we won't necessarily be discussing the games that have sold the most copies, but rather the games that have made the most money over an extended period of time. With that said, even though Minecraft has sold over 100 million copies, because Mojang has not released any official revenue figures, that game will not be included, although we're sure it made a lot. Also, we will be taking inflation into account for older titles. Number 10, Grand Theft Auto 5.
He sits on his ass all day, smoking dope and jerking off while he plays that f***ing game. If that's our standard for goodness, no wonder this country's screwed.
Can we change the old saying from selling like hotcakes to it sold like Grand Theft Auto 5? This game sold over 11 million copies within its first 24 hours of release, accounting for roughly 80 million in revenue for Take-Two, which is simply astounding.
My brother from another mother. I hope so, because my mom was kind of a skank back in the day.
It soon became the fastest-selling entertainment product in history, earning over $1 billion in only 3 days. Recent information obtained by Leslie Benzie's court documents reveal that the game has since made over $3 billion in sales, and it is still selling strong to this day. As of May 2016, the game has shipped roughly 65 million units. It's safe to say that Rockstar has a bona fide hit on their hands with this one.
I understand. Money is an issue, eh?
Money isn't an issue.
Number 9, Dungeon Fighter Online. For a relatively simple game, it's amazing what Dungeon Fighter Online has accomplished. The gameplay is similar to the arcade classics of old, as players traverse across a 2D environment while fighting monsters. While it may sound super simple, the game is addictive and fascinating enough to draw in hordes of players and keep them hooked. Oh, and then siphon their wallets.
위험에 처한 아라들을 구해줄 특별한 분을 기다리고 있었답니다. 바로 모험가님 같은 분을 말이죠.
As of 2015, the game has amassed roughly $4 billion, with a large portion of that revenue coming from China. Not only that, but both a manga and anime series have been created following the success of the game. Sometimes all gamers want to do is release some pent-up rage and beat up some monsters. Number 8, Donkey Kong. An early example and pioneer of the platforming genre, Donkey Kong took the world by storm. It remained a Nintendo staple for many years and quickly made the American distributors, Ron Judy and Al Stone, into millionaires. More importantly, it introduced the world to everyone's favorite plumber, then simply known as Mr. Video or Jumpman. It had already made $280 million by its second year of release, equating to roughly $730 million by today's standards. Due to both the popularity of the arcades and the game itself throughout the decade, not to mention the numerous home ports, Donkey Kong made a killing throughout the years and has since earned $4.4 billion in revenue when adjusted for inflation. Number 7, Wii Fit. Nearing the end of the decade, the Wii was on top of the world, and everyone wanted to get in on its novelty. When you combine that with the average person's desire to make exercise fun, magic will definitely happen. Demand for Wii Fit far exceeded its supply, and many retail locations were constantly sold out. Once the dust settled, Wii Fit became the third best-selling console game not bundled with a console, and has amassed an enormous gross of $5 billion as of 2015. While the novelty may have worn off for many people over the years, there's no denying that the Wii and its accessories were once the kings of the castle. Number 6, Wii Sports. Serving as a launch title for the Wii, Wii Sports was meant to show off the hardware capabilities of the tiny box and get players interested in this new, revolutionary console. Suffice to say, the plan worked flawlessly. Wii Sports is currently the third best-selling video game of all time, with over 80 million copies sold worldwide. The game was sold in a bundle with the Wii itself, which certainly added to this magnificent feat. It has since grossed a whopping $6 billion as of 2015, making it the highest-grossing Wii game of all time. 5 different popular sports plus a fancy new toy. Ka-ching! Number 5, CrossFire. While online first-person shooter games like Call of Duty and Counter-Strike may dominate in the West, you might be surprised to hear that it's actually a little South Korean game called CrossFire which really brings in the big bucks. This free-to-play game was the world's top-grossing online video game of 2014, making over $1.3 billion in that year alone. It's currently the world's most played FPS game with over 400 million registered players. To put this into perspective, Modern Warfare 3, the highest-selling Call of Duty game of all time, has sold only about 30 million copies. But since its release in 2007 in South Korea, CrossFire has grossed roughly $6.8 billion. Number 4. World of Warcraft. What is essentially the most popular MMORPG of all time, at least in the West. World of Warcraft has made its mark in the pop culture landscape through its addictive gameplay and imaginative world. At its height, WoW held over 12 million subscribers and accounted for over 60% of the MMORPG market.
Remember, our line has always ruled with wisdom and strength.
In 2012, not even 10 years after its original release, WoW had reportedly generated an astounding $10 billion in revenue, making it the highest-grossing video game of the modern era when not taking inflation into account. While there may be a social stigma behind the game, there's no denying that it is an immensely popular and profitable adventure. Number 3. Street Fighter II: The World Warrior. In the early 90s, home consoles were quickly growing in popularity, and arcades, while still very popular, were not quite what they once were. However, Street Fighter II and its variations changed that, reinvigorating the arcade and giving the medium popularity it hadn't seen in years, both domestically and internationally. By 1995, only 4 years after its release, this game had amassed a gross of $2.3 billion, or about $4 billion for today. How many quarters would that be, you may ask? Well, about 9.25 billion. That's a lot of quarters. Today, accounting for inflation, time, and home ports, the game has grossed a whopping 10.6 billion. They just don't make them like this anymore. Number 2, Pac-Man. A game and character that has become synonymous with gaming itself, Pac-Man has been played by everyone and their mom, and that dying sound effect has been etched into the minds of people everywhere. By the end of 1980, it had already earned over $1 billion and had already outgrossed Star Wars, which, in case you didn't know, remains a huge phenomenon today. 2 years later, over 7 billion coins had been spent on Pac-Man, and the game had over 30 million active players, which was astounding for 1982. Over the years, Pac-Man has enjoyed success at the arcades, on PCs, home consoles, and even recently on mobile devices, earning the little yellow guy a cumulative gross of $12.8 billion. Before we look at the biggest moneymaker in gaming, here are a few honorable mentions.
Enemy down!
Number 1, Space Invaders. And here we are, the granddaddy of them all. This game invaded the arcades in the summer of 1978 and basically kickstarted the modern video game movement. To put it mildly, everyone was blown away, and gaming was now at the forefront of everyone's minds, or at least a lot of people's minds. Going into 1982, the game had grossed an average of 600 million a year, or 1.5 billion today, making it the highest grossing entertainment product for its time. The game also saw success on early home consoles, selling over 2 million units in its first year and quadrupling sales for the Atari 2600. Today, nearly 40 years later, it has accumulated a mass gross of 13.9 billion when accounting, of course, for inflation. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.